Sidney Wicks is 75. How he lives his sad, wasted career. That's what they say about Sidney Wicks. And at 75, the truth is even harder to watch. Here was a man who had everything: athletic gifts that made coaches drool, college success that put him in the history books, a rookie season that screamed superstar, but somehow it all went wrong. Let's go back to where it started. UCLA in the late 1960s. Sidney Wicks wasn't just good, he was special. Under John Wooden, the most respected coach in basketball, Wicks helped win 3 straight NCAA titles. His team went 86 wins and just 4 losses during his time there. He won Tournament MVP in 1970. He won National Player of the Year in 1971. Wooden himself called Wicks the fastest, quickest big man he ever coached. That's high praise from a legend. The NBA noticed. Portland made him the 2nd pick in 1971. Wicks exploded onto the scene. 25 points per game, 12 rebounds per game. He won Rookie of the Year. For 4 straight years, he made the All-Star team. Everything looked perfect. But that's where the story takes a dark turn. What happened next defies logic. Wicks got worse every single season. Not just a little worse, much worse. His scoring dropped from 24.5 points as a rookie to 23.8 the next year, then 22.5, then 21.7. The decline never stopped. By his final full season with San Diego, he was down to just 6.7 points per game. Think about that. A former Rookie of the Year became a bench player who barely scored. This wasn't normal aging. Most great players have peaks and valleys. They might have bad years but bounce back. Not Wicks. His career looked like a steady march downward. Every season brought new disappointment. His field goal percentage stayed decent, but his impact vanished. He went from being a cornerstone to being irrelevant. The numbers tell a brutal story. Wicks played 760 games over 10 seasons. His career averages were 16.8 points and 8.7 rebounds. Those aren't terrible numbers, but for someone who started so hot, they feel empty. His player efficiency rating was 16.2. That's above average but nowhere near superstar level. The gap between expectation and reality became a canyon. Why did this happen? The answer isn't simple, but one big reason was Wicks himself. He developed a reputation as a selfish player. Teammates and coaches said he cared more about his own stats than winning. Old Portland fans still tell stories about Wicks chasing numbers. They claim he would run over his own teammates to get rebounds. Some even say he missed shots on purpose to pad his rebounding stats. The most famous quote connected to Wicks came from his UCLA teammate, Curtis Rowe. He supposedly said wins and losses aren't listed on paychecks, and Wicks laughed about it. Whether that really happened doesn't matter. The story stuck because it fit how people saw Wicks. He seemed to care more about money and personal glory than championships. This attitude poisoned his relationships. In Portland, Wicks publicly criticized his teammates. He said they played as individuals instead of as a team. The irony was thick. Fellow star Jeff Petrie took this personally. The team's 2 best players were fighting. Even though they supposedly worked things out later, the damage was done. Portland kept losing, and Wicks kept complaining. After his rookie year, Wicks admitted he needed to improve. He said he had to pass more instead of forcing shots. He promised better self-control, but his actions never matched his words. The stat chasing continued. The complaints continued. His reputation as a locker room problem grew. When Portland tried to trade him to New Orleans in 1976, Wicks refused to sign. He said he didn't like their losing record. He complained about Pete Maravich's run-and-gun style, claiming it reminded him of his problems with Petrie. The Jazz executive was furious. He said Wicks thought he was a superstar, but wasn't half the player or person that anyone on New Orleans was. Boston took a chance on Wicks in 1976. This should have been perfect. The Celtics had just won a championship. They had a winning culture. They needed someone to replace Paul Silas, a key rebounder. But Wicks was nowhere near as good as Silas. Worse, his presence upset the team's balance. The Boston years were a disaster. Wicks and Curtis Rowe were blamed for the team's downfall. They were connected to the firing of beloved coach Tommy Heinsohn. Star center Dave Cowens took no pleasure in playing with Wicks. Less than a month after Wicks arrived, Cowens announced his retirement. He came back later, but some think he left because of the team's decision to bring in Wicks. Wicks clashed with everyone in Boston. He had a famous feud with Bob Ryan, a respected writer for the Boston Globe. Wicks blamed the media for his struggles. In 1978, when Ryan visited the Clippers' locker room, Wicks saw him and exploded. He yelled there was going to be a murder and told Ryan to get out. Ryan sarcastically replied that if he had the power, he would have done it sooner. The media called Wicks a cancer in the locker room. They said he was the most disruptive influence to ever walk into Boston Garden. These weren't just insults. They came from respected observers who watch basketball for a living. The label stuck because they felt true. Tommy Heinsohn once told Wicks he wasn't being selfish enough. Wicks called this comment crap, but Heinsohn was probably being sarcastic. He was pointing out that even Wicks' selfishness was misdirected and useless. The Celtics traded Wicks to San Diego in 1978. The move helped Boston rebuild. They used the trades of Wicks and Bob McAdoo to get pieces for their 1980s dynasty. Players like Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and Danny Ainge came later, partly because Boston cleared out the disruptive influences. But there was another factor in Wicks' decline that gets overlooked. His body was breaking down. Wicks had serious knee problems his entire career. Maybe it was cartilage damage. Whatever it was, he was always playing hurt. By 1977, his knees were toast. He needed painkiller shots before and after every practice and game. This explains a lot. Wicks' game was built on pure athleticism. He was cat-quick and explosive. He could outrun guards and outjump centers. But when his knees failed, he had nothing to fall back on. He never developed a consistent outside shot. He never mastered advanced post moves. He relied on being faster and stronger than everyone else. When that advantage disappeared, so did his effectiveness. He couldn't outrun guards anymore. He couldn't outjump centers. And he didn't have the fundamentals to compensate. His decline wasn't just about attitude. His body simply couldn't support his style of play. The physical demands in Portland made things worse. For 5 years, Wicks was essentially the team's only inside player. He took a beating every night. The constant collisions and hard landings accelerated the damage to his knees. He was stuck in a cycle. The team needed him to play inside, but playing inside was destroying his body. Modern medicine confirms how hopeless his situation was. Knee injections like the ones Wicks received only provide temporary relief. They don't rebuild cartilage or fix structural problems. Stem cell treatments, which didn't exist then, probably wouldn't have helped either. Once his knees were damaged, there was no real solution. This adds a tragic element to his story. Some of Wicks' behavior might have been a reaction to constant pain. Chronic pain can make people irritable and difficult. It can affect judgment and emotional control. Playing professional basketball while needing painkiller shots before every game must have been torture. Wicks' career became a perfect storm of bad factors. His me-first attitude alienated teammates and coaches. His refusal to adapt his game left him helpless when his athleticism faded. His chronic injuries made everything worse, and his inability to handle losing created a toxic cycle where his complaints made bad situations even worse. By the end, Wicks was irrelevant. His final years in San Diego were forgettable. He never made the playoffs. He never fulfilled his superstar potential. He became a cautionary tale instead of a success story. What makes this sad isn't just what happened. It's what could have been. What if Wicks had developed better relationships with teammates? What if he had worked on his outside shot? What if he had embraced team play instead of chasing individual glory? What if his knees had held up just a few more years? At 75, Sidney Wicks represents one of basketball's great what-ifs. He had everything needed for superstardom. The talent was undeniable. The opportunity was there. But talent alone isn't enough. Success requires character, adaptability, and sometimes just luck with injuries. Wicks' story reminds us that potential means nothing without execution, that individual brilliance without team success feels hollow, that physical gifts are temporary, but the relationships you build and the example you set last forever. Today, Sidney Wicks isn't remembered for his spectacular rookie year or his 4 All-Star selections. He's remembered for what he never became. That might be the saddest part of all.